We're here at Cambio16. We have the pleasure and the honor to have with us Joe Robertson from the Citizens Climate Lobby. He's here to attend the COP25 in Madrid. So, Joe, welcome to Cambio16. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming. So tell us your impression here about the COP25. What have you been doing?
Well, so, one thing that we're proud of is we have our biggest ever delegation here at the COP. And I like to think that's because of the way Citizens Climate Lobby works. We ask people to come into an environment, learn about it, listen to people, connect. And I think our team has done well over the years. So we're happy with that. And our impression of the COP25 is it's such a critical moment. And there's definitely a sense of urgency. People understand the gravity of the problem. They understand the responsibility that's on their shoulders being in this place. This is the sort of control room where people are expecting solutions to happen. I think everybody's very serious about that. It's impressive how quickly Spain has been able to take over the hosting of this COP after it was moved. And Chile's leadership with the COP presidency has also been, I think, incredibly important, maybe historic in the way that they've gone about trying to shape the process. They've called on all of the countries in the COP process to upgrade their national commitments to the global climate response over the next year by including science in their national climate policy. The science of the 1.5 degrees Celsius upper limit for warming, the science of terrestrial ecosystems and land degradation and land use, the science of the ocean and cryosphere, these major reports.
So you think now this COP25 is different from the previous one? Because now we have this major slogan about time for action.
Yeah.
Do you feel that action coming through?
Yes.
Do you feel the emergency to change things now?
I do. I feel it. I mean, you always have to weigh the sense of urgency with the crisis against the nature of a negotiation among 196 countries that have to reach consensus at the end of 2 weeks. At the end of the COP25, we will not have ended climate change. But the goal, which I think is entirely within reach, is to set all of the standards, the culture of how we do this politically and economically on track to actually have a chance of avoiding the worst.
And how do you feel, how's been the reaction of the people by you being American and the United States trying to leave the Paris Convention?
Well, I think, most of the people in this process understand that those of us who are American who are there are in favor of us being in the Paris Agreement and are on the right side of this scientifically, economically, politically, and morally. So we don't get a lot of difficult reactions. But certainly people do want to know, I think frankly, they want to know how we feel. It's almost like they want to know, how do the American people feel that leadership is being surrendered in this way?
Or going in a different direction. Yeah. For us, it's quite difficult to understand for the European community what's going on in the United States. Especially recently, I wrote an article about the 181 leaders gathered together in a roundtable organization with the most important CEOs of American companies, the US companies, and they agree to abandon the supremacy norm of a shareholder value. Yeah. Only working for shareholders and taking into account the human beings, societies, consumers, the environment. So now we see those small changes in the United States, but we see politicians going the other way. Donald Trump saying that he's going to leave the Paris Agreement. Yeah. And that's really worrying. Have you feel that in the COP25?
People are worried about what that means, for sure. Also, I think, I'm glad that you mentioned that decision by the CEOs, the Business Roundtable, to change their definition of a corporation and its purpose. Sure. Because I think the decisions that are being made by politicians like Donald Trump to go in the wrong direction on this issue. What they're the most indicative of is how far removed they are from the people. The people want to solve this. People don't want, storm surges that are taller than buildings in their city. They don't want that. They don't want fires that people have to drive through to save their lives, and they don't want them every week on television. These are historically anomalous things we have no reference for, and people are scared, frankly. Recent polling in the United States showed that not only do most Democrats, who tend to be on the side of solving climate change, and most independent voters who don't have a political party want to solve climate change, but for Republicans under the age of 30, 77% think this is a major priority or an emergency. What's maybe most interesting is it's not just the young Republicans. Among Republicans, more than half of the older generation also want to solve this. So the real problem there is there's this remove between the politicians and the people. And
I think the general public already feels the necessity to get involved in the climate change reality, because we started to see it everywhere. It's the water, it's the ice, it's the air we breathe, it's everything. We've seen that how bad it has gone, and probably it's the same in the United States. I don't see why it's a difference. And we tend to try to find reasons why you will leave the Paris Agreement, why Donald Trump doesn't believe in climate change.
I don't know what he believes, and I don't know that I would or anyone else would be well served by me speculating about it. But I do think he's doing the wrong thing, and whatever his reasons are, they're ill-informed or morally wrong. I do think most people understand that. But there's this problem in politics, in the world in general. The US is suffering from a particular kind right now, but there's this problem where the good intentions and the values of ordinary people are not necessarily the things driving national decisions. And in a democracy, that shouldn't be the case.
But normally politicians follow what the people thinks, because they want to serve the people, normally speaking. Yeah. And Donald Trump is an intelligent person, no question asked. He knows what he's doing. So that's the only issue that is very difficult to grasp.
So I think what we're seeing is we're starting to see that when leaders don't do the things that people think are important, people find ways to respond to that. And when the president said he didn't want to stay in the Paris Agreement, the immediate response across the United States was ordinary people, mayors, governors, business leaders, all kinds of people saying, no, that's not right. That's not who we are. Okay. We've made a commitment, we're going to stick with it, and here's how we're going to do it. And now more than half the people of the United States actually live in places that are formally committed to the Paris Agreement at the subnational level. So I think people are trying to find ways to get involved, and that's what we in Citizens Climate Lobby do, is we try to support people in having that opportunity so that they can build a trust-based working relationship with their legislators. Sure. And invite those public servants to connect on that level. What is it you value? I represent you. What do you care about? What are you afraid of? You think I should solve this?
Makes sense. That's why it's so good, this interview, because I think your organization and ours, Cambio16, if we help create that collective consciousness, we will speed up the process of the change. We're fighting, we're doing the same. You can see here, we have latest 2 magazines. We have here, Join the Change, you see? Join the Change to protect the environment. The other one is really more about some articles that I wrote too. This is, basically I was arguing to the general people. I have an article here saying that human beings are the only species on Earth that do not adapt to the environment where they live. But then we found out that the indigenous, they do adapt to the environment. They do have an equilibrium between nature and their needs. So we should follow a little bit more that pattern.
Yeah, this is so important that you're doing that you're communicating this in this way to people, because I think you're communicating the underlying problem that we're all trying to solve, which is, as we develop industrial civilizations, we can say, well, nature is giving us a hard time, let's just fix that, right? Instead of adapting to how nature works, which has, you know, billions of years of history behind it. And the result is you can do that a little bit at a time. You can do that at a local level, but somehow, somewhere, that environmental friction is causing damage. And what we've done is we've created a global civilization where the damage can't be hidden anymore. It's hitting everybody now. And so it's really important that you're sharing that part of the human story.
Well, because some of the greatest minds we have interviewed here that is working towards sustainability, they always argue that the new systems of productions has to be based by copying how nature does it. Yep. Because nature has all the wisdom necessary to produce everything it needs to go circle, to go back and forth in the circle, and everything being produced. So it's great to have you here. Joe, it's been a pleasure to have you at Cambio16. I hope to have you soon here, work together, and find ways to speed up the process.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you.